The common adhesive that's used out there is called a cyanoacrylate. It's kind of like a modified super glue that comes in different viscosities. We're going to be using a viscosity that works better for broad range of mesh counts. We do carry different viscosities depending on if you're really just mainly restretching fine meshes or you're really just mainly stretching coarse meshes. For most screen printers sitting in the middle, a 300 CPS viscosity is probably 80% of what folks use out there. The glue, once it's applied down, is instantly hardened with a spray accelerator. That's a huge asset in that you don't have to sit there and wait for a glue to set up, and can let you take down the stretcher to begin the next frame that you might need to stretch. So in the squirt bottle, all you're going to do is apply a bead of this adhesive along the frame side, and a handy little applicator card, we're just using a piece of cardboard, to go in and evenly distribute the adhesive out around the frame surface. You don't want to have too much glue, in that you don't want to apply so much that the glue starts to go down between the frame and the stretcher bar itself, and that we don't want to glue the frame to the stretcher. Older frames can tend to have towed in a bit. In other words, the frame doesn't sit quite flat. It's gotten kind of bent in a little bit from the previous screen tension it had on it. So there might be instances when you're applying the adhesive that you notice it's contacting at one edge, which is usually that outer edge, but not as much in the inner edge. So a way to be able to fix that and give you better contact over the entire side is simply putting a slight amount of pressure on the screen mesh in the center as you're going in to activate it. We're going to stay 12 to 18 inches away and just give the adhesive surface that we put down a couple of sprays. It takes very little of this activator to set up the adhesive and give you a solid bond. You actually don't want to overspray or use too much, in that it will overheat the adhesive and it'll weaken the bond. Once we've gone in and applied the adhesive and activated it, it's already hardened to where you want to make sure it's hardened before you go in and touch it, but I've done this enough times to where it's probably just a knee-jerk reaction to try to make sure that I'm ready to cut free. But once you've done that, all you have to do is come along each of the frame sides, of course on the outer edge, and cut the frame free. In that adhesive bond, as I'd said earlier, instantaneously happens. So our screen is now complete and stretched at high tension, ready to go to the press. And you'll see we're sitting at about 20 to 21 newtons, which for most textile applications is going to work. So there we've got our stretch screen all ready to go for print production. If we have another screen to stretch, or we've got somebody doing this for us, and they've got another screen to stretch, to release the mesh, all you're doing is simply coming in, pushing down in that locking rod, the same feature we'd use to make the cross of tension, as well as soften the corners. And so when we go in and push that rod down with our little applicator card. It actually drops the rod down into the channel so we can remove it to be able to go and set in our next piece of mesh. After we put our frame in, shimmed it up. Last but not least, the ratchet system in the diamond chase roller that sits in these U-shaped channels is one directional. In other words, it's only going to turn one direction for the ratchet to work. So we've already turned this roller to a point where we can't necessarily put in another frame and begin stretching again, in that we've advanced that roller ways away from where the top dead center was that we started out with. So since this ratchet system's unidirectional, all we're going to do to start over is put our wrench in. We're not having any mesh. We're going to turn this roller to where it's going to face back up at a starting point of top dead center. And essentially that's where we've got this level even with the actual frame edge itself, the U channel that supports the roller, so that that groove is sitting there right at the point where we would be putting the screen mesh in for the next stretch time. So that's the Diamond Chase Tension-Quik stretcher, stretching a 2024 screen. They come in a variety of sizes. Probably the most common we sell is a 24-32, which allows you to do up to a 23-31 automatic size frame, and it can telescope down as far as a 10 by 10, 12 by 12 if need be. So it gives you a lot of versatility.